Welcome to another episode of Millennials to Millionaires.
Before we get started, we got something very, very special for you guys.
Extremely special.
If you look in the description below, we have a free, I repeat, free real estate investor's guide. Make sure you click the link in the description and get access to it right away.
Remember, it's free.
Now, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the M2M podcast. I'm your boy, Daniel King.
And I'm David, Tweet Estate.
We got a very, very special guest in the building today. From Oakland, California. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. 19 Keys.
Man, good to be here with you brothers,
brother.
man.
The pleasure.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure to have you, bro.
Likewise. Pleasure to be here.
Peace. So let's just get right into it, bro. What's a high level conversation?
A high level conversation can be really defined differently by different people, because each time we have a guest, we ask them what a high level conversation is, and each person has a different response. But a high level conversation is one that uses the faculties of your higher thinking, right? And it's not so much about talking about low level details or ideas. It's more so talking about, concepts about the world, concepts about culture, psychology, concepts about technology, right? Futurism. Like, it's all about stretching the mind to think, right? A high level conversation is going to get you to think. A low level conversation, you don't have to think, right? And so people have low level conversations all the time.
Every day.
So the question is, what's not a high level conversation, right? And when you go look at most of the podcasts that's about people's trauma, gossip, relationships, celebrity news, entertainment, that's all low level conversations, right? None of it has anything to do with vision. None of it had anything to do with building or something constructive. And so high level conversations is the opposite of what the mainstream is in the world, which is escapism and entertainment. This is education and enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. You just mentioned something crazy. You just mentioned vision. So talk to us about like how important a vision actually is.
Yeah, if you don't have a vision, you're blind. Right? And there's many people who see with their eyes, but they don't imagine with their mind. Right? A vision gives a man or a woman direction in life. Right? Anything that you do in life, you have to have a vision for. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going, right? And so you can't really form a purpose or some meaning towards life until you have a vision, something that you're working up towards in life, right? So when you construct an idea in your head and you architect this vision, that means now you have this place where anything else that doesn't coincide with that vision is useless to you. So now you have a barometer to know when you're going off your vision. Like, wait a minute, I'm having this conversation with you, I'm spending this time, but it has nothing to do with my vision. I'm spending money on these things that have nothing to do with my vision, right? I have watch hours watching content that has nothing to do with my vision. So vision gives direction, right? And so vision gives purpose, meaning, and direction to a person's life, right? So a man without vision is a man without meaning.
Lack purpose, all of that.
Absolutely.
What would you say is your top 5 core values?
For me, I would say family, loyalty, respect. I have a lot, so, core values is key. I always say you should know your top 5 core values better than you know your top 5 rappers,
People will tell you they're rappers off the top of the dome.
Right.
Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we argue about most of the time, integrity. Yeah. So we have so many conversations. We had conversations arguing about top 5 rappers in history in the world, or top 5 sports athletes. And we get excited about that because that's culture. But the reality of it is you can't build a culture without it having core values in it, right? You can't, because you have to build on top of that. So people often ask, how come we don't have unity and things of that nature? Because we don't have a culture with the core values of unity, right? So therefore, it's not built on top of that. So when you building a company, you building a system, you build it off core values, right? And then that is what helps shapes the mission and the vision for that company based on it staying true to those core values values. And everybody that's connected to that mission is everybody else that's saying, I have an oath to those same core values as well. We are aligned in principles.
It's like construction.
Yeah.
Like your core values are literally your foundation, right?
Right.
Without a foundation, your building will collapse.
Right.
You
So
know, it's
that's
just
why
like a
people
human.
should really think about their core values more, so you know whether you're doing things that's in line or unaligned with your core values. And that'll let you know whether you're still going to one's true purpose, right? And true meaning in life. Because there's so many people that, you know, they die while living. You know what I'm saying? They live a soulless life because they do so many things against their core values, they don't respect themselves no more. Right? And when you live a life according to those values, now you have a life that's meaningful. Now you can be happy. Now you can feel joyful, right? Because you're not doing anything that's corrupting your soul and your system, right? So I believe that is very, very key and important that we reestablish the ideas of what are the values of the culture, and that be more of a mainstream conversation, so that we can start moving towards that and we can hold each other accountable for when we're not moving in alignment with those core values.
So would you say people find their core values and then find purpose, or is this something that's done simultaneously?
No, I think that I don't think you find purpose, right?
that?
Purpose is something that you realize. Purpose is something that you build. Purpose is, it's a system that you discover, but it's not really a finding, because you're not chasing or not really a looking for it. For me, purpose is built out of work ethic, right? When you find what is your reason, right? I'll use the analogy of the remote. What is the remote for?
Control TV. Control.
It's for to control the TV. So now you know the purpose of the remote based on its function, right? And what it can do, right? So that's one low-level function. That's what the remote have. We have low-level functions and we have high-level functions, right? Once we go on that process of working throughout life, we discover gifts, skills, talents, right? So we know what we can become high-level functions at, and we say, well, this is my purpose. I'm good at speaking. Oh, this must be my purpose, right? I'm good at making money in the real estate market. This must be part of my purpose, right? But then you can discover high levels of purpose by saying that, damn, I have this money, right? Now I want to do something else with it. So it's a constant path of discovery and realization going to one's path, but each thing along that path is allowing you to discover more and more of your purpose, right? So there's a lot of people who lack a work ethic, right? And they looking for a purpose, and it's like, no, start working and you will discover it.
Wow, that's crazy.
It is amazing. So I grew up in the church. Mom is a faith-believing woman. She wakes up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning does devotions. And the reason that I'm here today is because of the blessings that she's prayed for me, right? And I know in the first chapter in Genesis, not trying to go biblical, but we're made in the image and likeness of God.
That's right.
Right? So my question to you is, why do you call yourself a God, and what does that mean to you?
Man, I think you just said it. Ye are all gods, right? Question is, why don't you call yourself a God, right? I can prove I'm a God because I can manufacture things from my mind, right? I'm not, human beings have the ability to use our neocortex in ways that other mammals can't, right? We can imagine, we can problem solve, we can think of multiple ways to do things and bring it into reality. And so that's a godlike ability. The most complex thing on the planet Earth, right? And the most amazing thing that's ever been created is the human body and brain and the mind system. Nobody can show you where the mind is, right? Nobody can tell you where the spirit or the soul is, but we all know it exists,
for sure.
right? What does that mean? Right? The immaterial substance of man is what makes him God, not the material substance. So people often say that we're not gods because you're limiting yourself based on your material flesh. But when you're talking about the immaterial substance, that's what we believe God is made of, right? That creator source, right? The consciousness. That's what we all have, right? So how can I not be what I'm made of? Right? So if God is my father and I'm his son, we family, right?
Right, 100%.
Then I am made of the same substance of my father. So I don't think that you human beings, if you praise God, you shouldn't want to be calling yourself anything other than that which you praise. That which you love the most in the world. You telling me you don't want to identify as that? right? So we have a interesting reality where human beings are always going around policing each other over their faith and belief and ideas, right? And that's playing God. Right? Telling me I'm not a God is playing God, because only God should be able to tell me that,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
So the idea that somebody can tell me I'm not a God is you're telling me you are my God, right? And I'm telling you, no, you're not.
Facts. 100%.
So what about, like, I saw you mention something about a slave mentality and a God mentality. And when you're operating from a slave mentality perspective, you're starting a race from behind almost. Yeah. Yeah. You want to touch on that a little bit?
That concept goes towards the idea that, we don't have no hero tales in our culture, right? All of it is either anti-hero or it is the stories of failure. And oftentimes when we talk about Black American history, we start at slavery, right? And that's not the truth of, our history. Right? Our story, goes back to the beginning of time. We don't really have a beginning and we have no ending, right? You can't really point to where do Black people begin, right? There isn't an existence. You can point to where Caucasian history begins. You can't point to where original people begin, right? And so when you think about that, you have people like Hannibal Barca. Right, Hannibal Barca was a military genius. He's the reason military strategists, their schools of strategy study him to this day, because he was a young African brother that went over there and conquered Rome. He was the only one that went over there with a military campaign and won in his 20s. Wow. If you start history there telling that kind of story, you telling me that's what I come from, that's my stock. Right? How old was Mansa Musa? Probably in his 30s, 40s or whatever. You know what I mean? But he was the richest man in history.
Ever.
Now let's dig into how did he do it? What was his mindset though? I don't just want to know what he got. I want to know who he was.
And how did he get there?
Right. Because now you're telling me, sure, I'm just like him. Right?
So why can't I get it?
Exactly. But when we start from slavery, no, y'all started in chains. Y'all was just slaves. So now it's like, dang, man, we came from nothing. We got to work our ways into becoming something. No, we started off the greatest military generals on the planet Earth, the richest people on the planet Earth. You go back to the Moorish civilization, that civilized the Europeans, civilized Caucasians across the planet Earth. So we were the scientists, the generals, the farmers, the educators. You go to Tahuti and to ancient Kemet civilization, you're looking at us, as architects and building step pyramids and, creating mathematical systems. So it's like starting from any places of like slavery is a derailment of the truth. You know what I mean? That's a speck in time. At the same time, it's a part of our story, but it's a part of a cycle of our story. It's not the whole. And that cycle of our story is what allows us to be great today, because we went through all of that to become all that we are now.
Talk to me a little bit about that. And I noticed you said something the other day, and it was like mothers killing their kids at the dinner table. Yeah. In terms of what they're feeding them. And that kind of hit me very powerful. You know what I'm saying? What is the importance of what you put in your body?
I said that on Ash Cash show, mothers killing their kids at the dinner table. And it really goes for mothers and fathers, whoever feeding those children the wrong foods, right? In America, we have an over-gluttonous society, very greedy. Yeah, for sure. 60+% of people are obese. And then you ask yourself, how come the other 40% are not? Right? What are they doing that the other 60% are not doing? Right? And so when you look at the reality of human beings, we really don't know. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us how to eat to live, right? Because most people eat to live. They don't know how to eat to live. Or most people live to eat, rather. They don't know how to eat to live. And so food is supposed to be a substance that nourishes your body for longevity, for energy, right? So food is a tool. But we've made food this luxury thing, right? We take crabs out to sea and we spice them up and we eat them, but it has no nutritional value for you. Right? We take food and we process it. It's junk, it's chemicals. You go read the back of most of you don't know none of that means.
Pronounce it.
Right? We take all of these soys, and that's not good for men. So you got a lot of soy boys walking around, you growing breast, you know what I'm saying? And it's lowering your testosterone, and that actually has an effect on, increased anxiety, lack of focus, right? So you don't even realize that you may be more stressed out because of how you eating, right? We have food deserts, right? right? To where we don't have access to nutrient available foods. Now, this is a consistent and rampant problem in America, where you go look at the zip codes of black neighborhoods in America, and you're going to see that in these zip codes, they don't have access to farm food. Right, they don't get fresh farm to table. Right, right. They you go get processed foods, or in your proximity and walking distance, in the closest proximity, you go find nothing but fast food restaurants. Yeah. What does that do to the mind? You're constantly dehydrated. You're never actually fulfilled, right? And so this does something to the gut, because the gut has a connection between the brain. The gut is actually a second brain. It has neurons in the gut as well, and so the way you feel is based on how you feed yourself. And the way you feel right now is not based on what you ate today. It's based on, what you previously ate, because it takes time to digest and break down. Right. But the reason we eat food is to absorb the light in the food, right? But when you have food that doesn't have light, it creates inflammation. And so the body starts to feel pain. The body starts to swell up, right? Because your body is fighting itself, because you're putting foreign substance in the body, and the body, I can't use this, right? You can't pour water, right, into a car and try to substitute for oil, right? The car gonna burn out.
Real quick.
If you know for a fact you have to put the right things in your car in order for the mechanics of the car and the engine of the car to run and sustain and work properly, then why don't you do the same thing for your body? But we have a death food consumption, right? We don't have a life food consumption, because we don't have lifestyles. We have death styles, right? And so we put that in our music. We talk about killing and harming each other too much, right? And then we do that in the food. It's fast food, which means fast death, right? Food that takes time to cook and prepare, that's the food for us. And we eat too much. I was at the breakfast thing earlier today. I was just looking at people's plates, like, damn. That's too much. You don't need all of that. You know what I'm saying? People have, and last but not least, like, people have slim goals but fat habits.
Oh, everybody does.
Everybody want to be slim, but they got all these fat habits.
That's a bar. I like that. That's a bar.
Slim goals,
and that goes to life, because I don't believe in goals. I believe in habits. Habits produce results, not goals. Goals are just ideas.
That's it.
Right? Something that you may want. Yeah. But if you a big girl or a big dude right now, right, and you say, man, I want to be fit, but you don't have the habits of going to the gym, you don't have the habits of eating correct, you're never going to be fit. I don't care how much of a law of attraction secret book you read. I don't care how much you meditate. None of that matters. You will be obese forever.
Yeah, let's put that
right?
work in.
So you might have big dreams, you know what I'm saying? But having those goals of same thing is like, don't have rich goals and poor habits, right? So make sure you actually have wealthy habits and you get wealthy results. So if I study somebody that is wealthy and I do exactly what they do, I'm getting their exact results. It's simple. If I study somebody if I eat exactly like somebody that is fit, I'm going to become fit, right? I'm working out just like them. I'm taking on their routine and their habits. That's what I become, because habits produce results. Goals just are ideas.
What does your diet look like?
Oh man, I gotta live it. I ain't got a diet. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta live it.
I gotta live it. You feel me? I eat to live, not eat to die. You feel me? Language is a very important programming process.
Oh, for sure.
But I always tell people I'm not vegan, I'm healthy, because most vegans aren't healthy, right? So for me, like, y'all have fruits in there, I make sure I'm gonna eat me some fruits and some vegetables. I think it's a very simple, like, reality. But then I take proteins as well. You know what I mean? I don't take proteins like shakes, because for some reason I'm allergic to them. So I have to get protein in food from eating it. So it really depends on, like, if I'm working out, then I'm working out and I'm going to make sure that I'm eating some oatmeal, right, or some sort of proteins. Then I'm going to get my workout in. Gotcha. Then if I'm like trying to bulk up, then I want to make sure I get enough proteins to make sure that I can actually have gains. Because you can be working out all day long, but if you don't eat correctly, then you're never going to bulk up. And most people don't realize that. So, I don't eat any red meats, right? I mostly eat like salmon, right? I eat food, man. I eat healthy, man.
They don't say
I'm not a nutritionalist, right? So it's not at the forefront of my head, but I'm conscious, right? I'm a conscious eater, so I make sure that I'm aware of what I'm putting in my body, when I need to decrease the sugars, right? Because too much processed foods is no good, bleached foods is no good, right? So you really want to look at your diet and say, okay, what is artificial ingredients that's in my diet? Where are the bleached foods that's in my diet, the processed foods in my diet? Because you may be having headaches, issues, pains, right? Things that's going on in your life and not realizing that you're feeding into a disease, right? Because disease have to be maintained, right? The same way health has to be maintained. So when you're constantly getting sick, it's because you have the habits of sickness. You have a diet of sickness, right? But when you constantly feel good, it's because you have the habits of eating correctly, right? So we should all feel like children, right? You know, when you was a child and you feel like you have a balanced amount of energy. Of
course.
Like, why don't we feel like that as adults? It's because we eating these things that go against us and we dragging ourselves down and we're becoming heavier and heavier and heavier to one day you heavy set, right? And you having all these issues, joint pains that's going on in your life. Instead of you eat correctly, you can feel young your entire life. Right? There's no reason to start feeling like you dying when you're in your 30s. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk.
Obesity can be cured by the right way of eating.
And the right way of thinking.
Exactly. Because most people try to eat out past their trauma, right? And that's what most people probably do, is because it feels rewarding as you eat. And so people are trying to eat away their relationships, eat away their insecurities, eat away their imperfections, right? And what you figure out is you go be fat and still have all those same issues. Now you just threw on another one.
That's it.
Right? And so eating correctly a lot of times can't happen until you heal. Right? And so healing don't happen until you process the things that actually going on with you, rather than trying to cover them up with something else to make you feel good about the things that's happening to you.
Gotcha.
We hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Don't forget
To click the link in our description for your free real estate investor guide.
All right, now back to the scheduled program.
We have to switch gears. We have to get into AI before
Come
we
on,
wrap
man.
up.
Talk to me.
I mean, a lot of people are scared of AI, right? A lot of people think that AI is coming to take jobs. It's coming to change the way our economy functions. But I see opportunity. I see that there's benefit to it. What is your take on it? And talk about the enhanced intelligence.
AI is going to be terribly great and it's going to be terribly good, right? So all of the so-called fears are going to come true, but then there's always a flip side, like you said, right? So AI won't steal your job. Somebody using AI will steal your job. In every industrial revolution, it happens, right? You know, we put ponies, there was people that put mail on ponies and sent them out. That was the best way of getting information across, land. That was our speed was of the pony. Then it was of the horse, right? Then horsepower was put out by, the steam engine. And then we can process information even faster. People that was working in factory jobs was replaced by machines, right? And so we see this happen anytime there's a new advert of technology. But the same way social media comes, right? And you have these new jobs now, right? Content creators. This wasn't a job 10, 20 years ago, right? Influencers wasn't a job 10, 20 years ago. Now everybody has to be that, right? So we are already evolving into these ages of creativity, right? And attention. And so when you think about that, you say that it's not so much that it's replacing the jobs, it's changing the jobs, right? There will be new jobs that will pop up, new collar jobs, or jobs that's going to require more creativity and critical thinking skills, but don't require a degree, but require experience. And so 70 to 90% of the jobs that will be created in the future haven't been created yet. Right? A person 30 years ago couldn't even imagine what they would be doing today because the technology for what they're doing wasn't created yet. And so AI is going to be creating new positions and opportunities. And most people can't even imagine what they're going to be doing because that technology isn't even here yet. But I see a switch to where things that may not be that in this current age, like being a coder, you gonna make money. You can make up to $200,000, $300,000 a year, right? So people that don't know how to code, they can't make that money. But with AI, you can tell the AI to code. So I don't need the coder. What do you need then? You need creativity. So a person that can generate ideas. So now you may be this person the whole time and you got all these ideas, you a jack of all trade. Now that may be beneficial because now you have the ability to utilize artificial intelligence to be your team and to generate those ideas in reality. And so it's interesting because I feel like this is going to be the greatest era for creatives, right? People who were kind of, shoved aside in society because maybe they didn't have the technical business skills and resources, now have AI as the business skill and resource. So I look at technology as, a wealth transfer. Right? So they say the typical business doesn't, are able to produce profits to a couple years, or the typical black business, is not hiring employees to like 5 years, right? Growing in size. And mostly because you can't afford it, right? Now AI gets to become your employee. Right. So that means that, what does that mean? That means that you can have that budget that you would have need to hire a very smart person and very smart team. You can now get that for $20 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So that to me is a wealth transfer because now you can do more. Then it says that, okay, time has changed because of AI, because what it used to take to do a task has been decreased. Right. So, Tim Ferriss famously came up with the 4-hour work week. Right. Normally, what probably would have took 40 hours can take 4 hours now.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do with all of that extra time? Right. So let's say you're preparing for, real estate closing. You have to write something down, right? A description of the properties. You got to conjure up a contract, and you got to have a middleman over here, somebody over here. Now you just type in a prompt, and a prompt is essentially telling the machine what you want to do, and then it gives you a response. An interview is a prompt and response system. Because AI is created based on, the human brain. So everything you're dealing with in AI is like having a brain in front of you and dealing with the internal processes of our neural working systems and how we pattern and configure information. So you ask me a question to get the best response, right? But your questions is only as good as smart as you are, right? Or as much as you know of me, right? Or the synergy that we have with each other. Yeah. So AI works better if you're already smart. Right? Yeah. So what I see as a pro in healthcare, everything that was for the wealthy is now going to be for everybody, right? Having a customized healthcare physician, everybody's going to have that with AI, right? Where they can detect cancer in your body 6 years ahead. Right, where doctors can just drop notes to the AI and it can find things that the doctor normally wouldn't now. Why? Because doctors are overworked. Yeah. Right? The healthcare system is one of the worst systems in the entire world.
Overworked and underpaid.
Right? Overworked and underpaid, so they're making mistakes. They're missing things. Yeah. The AI not going to be overworked. You go put that information in there, they go find patterns, they go figure out ways to synthesize drugs, right? And come up with things that human beings would have took 30 years to get done. So time is speeding up to this point where everything is moving faster and faster and faster and faster, but that means you can too. But the computer is based on higher level thinking of the human being. So if you're not a high level thinker, this is not your time, right? This is the time for high level people only. Low level people will be slaves of the technology completely, right? But we're going to go to a stage of universal basic income at some point in time because there's going to be a need and necessity for people to be able to generate income, right? Because they're not going to have skill sets that will be worth anything. So yes, I see AI today being utilized in my own business, right? When we come to generating content, when it comes to researching, right? And then I think the best opportunity right now as a gold mine is figuring out specific AI use cases and building a software business out of that. Right? What they're trying to do right now is AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. So that's a wider model that basically you can tell it to do anything. Specific AI, it's the same thing as you have a person that's a jack of all trades, or you have a person that knows one thing, they're going to do it very well because that's what that model is trained on, right? So if you just focus on real estate, you're the real estate guru. But if you focus on real estate, science, writing, now you're stretching yourself. So the AIs that have specific task format, and people say, I don't just need a whole AI. I need the real estate AI.
Yeah.
I need to be able to tell it about a deal. I need to have a camera go scan it. I give it that video and it tells me, you know, the value of the house. It tells me about the future of this neighborhood, right? It tells me different property ideas, layouts that I can do. Then, not only that, you can create a plugin. So let's say you go get some real estate and you want to like do a fixer-upper, right, in the house. You know what I'm saying? So you buy a little distressed property. You go in there and then you scan the room. Right? And then the AI automatically generates what that could look like, right? So even before you sell it, you can say, listen, before we even fix this up, I want to sell you what the layout would be. So you can customize it for the owner. So now listen, it ain't got to be what we want. It can be what you want. So the great customization in reality is going to come because that's a dope idea versus you walk into a house and it's already fixed up. No, I got a blank canvas. We're going to generate these ideas. You pick which one and we're going to build the house based on that. And so now people are bidding and customizing it before they're buying it, right? And there's just so many different ideas that when people go into doing real estate, it's based on their expertise and their knowledge. Now they're going to have so many wider ideas to be able to customize reality. And you create an application that's specifically for wholesaling or specifically for real estate. Everybody in the real estate market is going to use it, right? And this first mover advantage is kind of where we're in right now. Right? The next trillionaires and billionaires will be based off, you know, creative ideas that generated from utilizing artificial intelligence, right? But last not but least I'll say on that is that technology makes a terrible master. You understand me? But it makes a great slave. You know? So you have to be careful because you can become a slave of technology and not realizing it's controlling you. But for every problem that I see that we have as a community, as culture, we can use AI to help assist us. And that's where I go to my formula of AI plus NI equals EI. Artificial intelligence plus natural intelligence equals enhanced intelligence. But artificial intelligence plus stupidity don't equals enhanced intelligence. So if you're not already smart, how can you have the smartest person in the world working for you? What are you gonna tell them to do? You don't even know. You're going to have to ask them what to do.
Exactly.
So people who already have a level of creative intelligence, who already have things going on, I see AI working very good for them. Everybody else, AI is going to tell them to do the same thing. Everybody's going to go to AI, yo, how do I create content? AI is going to tell everybody to create content the same way.
100%.
Right? Then everybody's going to ask them, how do I create content a different way? Everybody's going to, it's going to keep generating the same responses. So this is kind of how reality is now. Everybody's in plagiarism. You know what I'm saying? Just copying everybody else's response. You see somebody do something different and you copy. This is the current natural intelligence that people learn from. Oh, he doing that different. I need to steal that. Right? So AI is built off that same. It's right now like ChatGPT is a natural language processor. It's not really thinking. It's taking and forming language, and it has so much data sets and millions of different possibilities that as it's going, it's forming what would be the best letter or the best word to put in this. And so we think this is like a real intelligence, and it's a form of intelligence, but it hasn't reached to that point where if you sit it in a panel of 12, could you tell whether this was AI or not? Now, this is the dangerous part, what people are afraid of is the singularity, right? So that's called the Turing test. The Turing test was based off Alan Turing, who created the Turing machine that helped them decode the Germans' messages back in the war. And so he's supposed to be one of the founding fathers of the idea of AI, right? But the idea is that if you have a panel of very smart 12 experts and you set that in front of them, if they can't tell that this is an AI, it's supposed to be conscious, right? And so when we get to that point, you know, this AI conversation can go on forever because there's so much that goes into it.
We're going to have a part 2 of this.
You have to.
But I just use it for business. Use the tools, learn the tools. We actually have a AI software or a website. It's called Yeah, warehouse.ai. So warehouse.ai basically has a list of all of the emerging AI softwares.
Okay.
So therefore, you don't just got to search the internet and try to figure out where they are. We have a list that you can go, what it does, how you can use it, and then we have them ranked from the top ones to the bottom ones as well. So whatever business industry that you're in, use AI to enhance it.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to talk really deep into the dangers of AI, but I would just say study.
Yeah. Listen, we definitely going to have a part 2 on this 100% because I got a whole list of questions I ain't even get to, but I'm getting the hand signals from everybody.
It's high level conversation.
I'm getting the hand signals that we got to wrap up.
When it's high level, you got to let it go.
You got to let it go,
man.
Nah, it's good. I appreciate y'all.
We're going to have a part
man.
2. It's not going to be the first one.
Most definitely.
Listen, the last thing I want you to know, where can we find some of your merch? Every time I see you, you're a marketing genius because every time I see you, I see your hat, I see your logos, I see your brand, the Crown Society, and I think right away, that just tells me that, you know, your brand is high level. You know what I'm saying? Where can we find some of your stuff, bro? Because every time I go to the website, it's sold out. Like, so I hope you guys brought some extra stuff up here for me.
We got some drip.
Okay, where can the people find your stuff?
Crown Society. They can go to crowns19.com.
Okay.
That's we've had that for like 7 years, you know, just curating, you know, high level aesthetics, you know, something that has a representation of meaning and purpose when you wear it. Because oftentimes we wear symbols that don't mean anything. And so this is a symbol that can represent a new culture, right? It represents that you're on that journey. So we put those crowns on our head to remind ourselves, right, of our core values, right, of our universal principles and mindset that we have, you know, and you talked about marketing, so I'll leave y'all with this gem. It's the red shirt theory. If you wear a red shirt one day, that's cool. You see a person wearing a red shirt the second day, you're like, oh, he got another red shirt. You see him wearing the third day, it's a pattern. Like, bro, always wearing a red shirt. Then the fourth day, damn, bro, still got on, he got another red shirt. Like, what's going on?
Another one or the same one.
The fifth day, what are you going to expect him to have on?
A red shirt.
A red shirt. That's when it becomes your brand, right? Consistency is your brand. Right. And so a lot of people are very inconsistent, so they can't build a brand. Right. But the red shirt theory is having that identifying marker to where people can always recognize you and they have an expectation of that recognition.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm always wearing my crowns. It's my red shirt.
Listen, I'm about to go pick up a red shirt right now on the way home.
You need 7 of them.
God, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming through. We're definitely going to have a part 2 on this because there's so much more that we got to get into. But peace, God. Appreciate you coming through. Hope you love the Northern hospitality.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I hope you coming back to the 6.
Oh, man. Come on, man. I ain't no waste, man. We out here.
All right. Caravanas in the summertime, so we outside.
Yeah.
Summertime, we getting outside.
Talk to me.
All right. Say no more. So this is another episode of the M2M podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We got the one, the only Mr. 19 Keys with us. And we will be back for a part 2 because this was a high-level conversation.
It's very high level. Thanks.
We hope you guys enjoyed this amazing episode of Millennials to Millionaires.
Don't forget to click the link in the description to claim your free real estate investor guide.
This is something that's amazing for anyone to have if you're planning on getting into the market. This is something that you don't want to miss out on. Click the link below.
It's free.